Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, sir. Okay. So, good afternoon. Let's continue our discussion on exemptions. Okay. So, we were discussing on the major exemptions which we have covered. Few important exemptions is what we will discuss today. So many people, very nice to see everybody. Very good evening. Very good afternoon. Okay. Uh, so we covered exemption up to government services. So today we'll go to the next exemption. Healthcare, education, charitable organization, and we also completed this construction services wherein we deeply understood what is a TDR, what is a FSI, and what is the implication when a land is getting transferred or a TDR or a FSI is getting transferred, what happens in such scenarios. Okay. Now we'll go to the next exemption, which is on transportation services, right? Transportation is what when you travel, that is transportation of passengers. When a human being is getting transported, or you use one of the modes for transporting or traveling, that is called transportation of passengers. And other transportation could be transportation of goods, correct? So we can transport passengers or we could transport goods. Now, in this, so let's bifurcate. First is we have taken a consolidated thing of saying what is the exemption on the transportation. Now we'll get into the detailed one. First, we'll start with transportation of passengers. Under transportation of passengers, what all is exempt? And under, then we'll go to transportation of goods, what all are the services which are exempted. So, transportation of passengers could be through various modes. So, we have enlisted the four modes how which a passenger can travel. First is transportation by air. Second is transportation by road. Third is transportation by railways. And fourth is transportation through water. Okay. So in air, that is when you travel, is there any exemption on the airfare? So how will you travel through air? It could be through a helicopter or through a aeroplane. So in these two modes of transport of air, there is generally no exemption. So because you are traveling through a flight, you have the sufficient amount to pay for the flight. So you have sufficient amount to pay for the GST also. There is no exemption. But there is a scheme which the government has said that new airports are those ports which needs local connectivity. Okay. We have to encourage these places. So we will provide exemption for any kind of a air transport also. Even if you travel by flight to these areas, then we will give you a exemption, which means if you are traveling from Delhi to one of these space places which has been mentioned here, then there is no GST on the ticket charges. And when you come back from these places to your location, even in that case, there is no GST on this, on the ticketing charges. Now, what are these places? These places are called Bagdogra, which is in West Bengal, Arunachal Pradesh, Tripura, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Assam, Nagaland, and Sikkim. So mostly all of this are northeastern states. So that they need to get connected to the rest of the country, and people who are traveling here should be encouraged to travel here so that the tourism in these places can be improved. So that's the reason to give encouragement to the tourists to come to these places, GST is exempted for these places. Now, how do we remember this? One acronym what is used as BAT triple MANS, Batmans. Okay, so the best way to remember this is B for Bagdogra, A for Arunachal Pradesh, T for Tripura, M for Manipur, again M for Meghalaya because there are three M's: Manipur first M, Meghalaya second M, Mizoram third M, then Assam, then Nagaland and Sikkim. So these are the places where if you travel through a flight, then the flight. Okay, so when you travel by air to these places, it is exempted. Then if you travel by road, how can you travel by road? You can use a car, you can use a bus, right? Or you can drive it through your own vehicle. So first we'll see what is the exemption which is given if you are using a stage carriage. Okay, stage carriage means one which transport passengers from one place to another place where there are stages. Okay, which means that 3 to 4 stops constitute one stage. Okay, and after that there is another stage. So it could be both local buses, what you see within your city. The local buses, they are examples of stage carriage, and interstage buses, they are also examples of stage carriage because they operate on a basis of stage. Stage matlab a particular sector. They travel, when you travel from point A to point B, there could be various sectors which will be split. They are called as different stages. That's why these buses which we use for transporting of passengers, when we use this buses to travel from one place to another place, if these buses, they are called firstly stage carriage, and in the stage carriage, if it is non-AC bus, it is exempted. If it is a AC bus, then it will be taxable. Now, stage carriage not restricted to local buses within a city. It could be from one city to another city, or it could be from one state to another state also. Okay, so if it is non-AC bus, it is exempted. If it is a AC bus, it will be taxable. Then contract carriages. Stage carriage is one which goes on the route what is specified by the bus department. Okay, municipality, the bus company which operates it, they will decide the route. But in contract carriages, you give a contract and take a bus saying that, okay, you need to transport your, do travel for your employees. That is under your contract. You can decide the route. Or you have taken a bus for your family functions. So you're giving a contract saying that I need the bus from morning 6 o'clock to evening 9 o'clock. Even if the bus is idle, it will still wait and it cannot go anywhere else. So you have taken a contract for the carriage. So that is example of a contract carriage. So you understood the difference between stage carriage and contract carriage. And again, in contract carriage, same like how we have dealt with stage carriage, non-AC buses are exempted, but AC buses are taxable. Okay. Then if it is radio taxi, then it will be taxable. Radio taxi is one wherein you operate the taxi and you can call the taxi from anywhere to anywhere. So those radio taxis are taxable. And if it is used for tourism, okay, if you're using it for tour or package, then also it is taxable. If it is conducted tour or charter or hired tour, everything will be taxable. So what is exempted under contract carriage and stage carriage? Only non-AC contract carriage is exempted. That too, it should not be for tourism purposes. It should not be for any conducted or chartered tour, and it should not be a radio taxi. Only then it gets exempted. Otherwise, it will all be taxable. So you have to be remember this carefully, saying that okay, if they give a question saying that a contract carriage is used, okay, it's a non-AC bus, but it is used by a travel agent. So do you think it will be taxable or no? So if we are traveling from Bangalore to any of these places by air, then what is the treatment? Correct. If you travel from Bangalore to any of these Batman's places, then it will be exempted because you can travel from anywhere. If you are landing at that place or taking off that from that place, then there is no GST applicability. Stage carriage is like public transport and contract carriage is for personal purpose hire. Yes, you can say that. Okay. So on my question saying that if it is a contract carriage non-AC but used for tourism purposes, it will be taxable because for tourism purpose, if it can be non-AC or AC, if it is used for tourism purposes, then it will become taxable. Yes. Okay. So we know about stage carriage, contract carriage, then metered cab, auto rickshaws, and e-rickshaws. Okay, where you have seen in some cities there is a metered cab, okay, wherein you sit and the meter is on. Once you get down, the meter will be off, so that you can pay what is the amount appearing in the meter. So these are called as metered cabs. And then our Ola and Uber, what we use, you think that is coming under which category? Is it coming under metered cabs? They are coming under radio taxi. Correct. So Ola and Uber, what we use, they don't come under exemption. So tax is payable on that. Yes, that all falls under radio taxi. So metered cabs are one which is different from radio taxis. So on metered cabs, similarly how they operate like auto rickshaws. So auto rickshaws and e-rickshaws, these are all exempted. But yes, in Kolkata, yellow taxi is meter taxi. Correct. So if that yellow taxi is a meter taxi, that meter taxi, whatever charges is collected on that GST is exempted. And then non-AC is taxable if supplied through e-commerce. So generally, if you are using the non-AC transportation of stage carriage or contract carriage, it is all exempted. But if you hire those taxis through any online aggregator, any e-commerce company, which could it be? It could be either Ola or Uber, or if it is bigger buses, transportation uh, buses wherein you have 20 seaters and things, they are not available on Uber, Ola and Uber. So you may book them through, say, makemytrip.com, right? So if you're booking that through e-commerce, then it will be taxable. So how you book is also important. If you directly book a cab, going to the office and finding out which cab is suitable for you, if it is non-AC, it will become exempted. But if it is non-AC, then it will still be taxable if it is supplied through a e-commerce operator. अगर ई-कॉमर्स ऑपरेटर के थ्रू आपने सप्लाई कर दिया तो non-AC metered cabs and auto rickshaws are also taxable. That's why if you see, if you travel through Ola or Uber, after you travel through a auto, you'll get a bill. In that bill, if you see, there is GST which is getting charged. Because normally auto rickshaws are exempted, but if you book those auto rickshaws through a app, then it will become taxable. If that app should be a e-commerce app. Okay. So this is on the transportation of passengers by road. Yes, Red Bus also very good example. When you book anything through Red Bus, okay, it is an app which gives aggregation of all the transporters. And if you book a bus through the Red Bus app or the Red Bus website, whatever it is, it could be through either modes. When you're booking it through them, then it is liable because even though if it is non-AC, since you booked it, you have to pay it. Sir, in case of transportation of electric, okay, what is the case scenario? In case of e-rickshaws. So e-rickshaws generally you cannot book it through a aggregator. If that also, if you are booking it through aggregator, for now it will still be exempted because they have said only non-AC and metered cabs and auto rickshaws. These three will be taxable. If you're booking e-rickshaws through a app or an e-commerce company, still it will not be taxable. Okay, employee. What is your question? I think it says that in case of transportation of employee, what is the case scenario? Right. So that also will be if it is a non-AC bus, right? You're taking a hire of a bus which is for transportation of the employee. So that's a contract carriage. Now that contract carriage will be exempted if it is non-AC bus and it will be taxable if it is an AC bus. In contract carriage, face to face, we have booked non-AC bus, but for personal use, exempted. Is it so? No, no, not clearly understood your question, Manoj. Can you please reiterate your question? Train tickets booking of book online. Still, train tickets के लिए they have not said that. It's only because train to most of the time they're encouraging you to book it through their IRCTC website or any other website. So if you book it through IRCTC, if it is railways, will come to that, there you'll have a clarity. But the question of booking through an app or e-commerce, what we are discussing now, that applies only to restricted to this transports. So that's why I mentioned here the non-AC is taxable, which means we are all talking on transportation by road. We are not yet come to the transportation by rail. If it is transportation by road, then it will be non-AC, then taxable and taxable is so if it is supplied through e-commerce. Okay, and even metered cab and auto rickshaws will also be taxable by the e-commerce operator. Now let's get to railway. Railways is if you travel through metro rails, monorails, or tramway. Okay, then it is all exempted. Sir, metro is with AC, doesn't matter. To encourage lot of people to transport through metro, the ticket charges of metro should not get increased because of GST. That's why they said on transportation by metro. Okay, there is no GST applicable. Then monorail and tramway also, GST is not applicable. In terms of other railways, like when you travel from Delhi to Bangalore, Bombay to Chennai, anywhere, if it is non-AC, it will become exempted. If it is AC and first class ticket, then also it will be taxable. Same like road transportation. Your railways, if you're transporting through non-AC, it will be exempted. If it is AC and first class, it will become taxable. They charge only transaction fees in case of railway ticket. Correct. So, in case apart from booking of a non-AC, we know for non-AC train ticket there is no GST. But along with this non-AC ticket, when you're booking it online, there'll be some service charges. On that service charges, GST will be taxable because that is a separate service which is given by IRCTC for booking the tickets online. So on that GST will be charged, but on the main service, main aspect of ticket charges, on that ticket charges, GST will not be there. Maharaja Express, all of that will generally have AC. They are all taxable itself. Is the ST bus service liable to GST if it provides an AC bus? State bus services, yeah. Still bus services also. Niru, that if it is a AC bus, it will be taxable. If it is a non-AC bus, on then they don't charge GST on that. If booked at the railway counter, is there any charges? No. Generally, at the railway counter, when you book, there is no such charges. 1 minute. Okay. So we understood transportation of passengers through which all modes? Air, road, and railways. Now let's get into transportation of passengers by waterways. Okay. If there is any transportation through waterways, through a vessel, okay. Vessel means a ship or a big ship. So not a normal vessel, what we use. Vessel would mean a big ship. That is also called as a vessel. So if you are transporting passengers through vessels, if it's a public transport, okay, wherein you have to travel from point A to point B, and the route is that you have to cross through a water. There you will have vessels, and you're using it as a public transport, nothing that for a specific person or can be used only by them. So it's like how you define the stage carriage. Similar to that, if there is the water transportation which is happening like a stage, saying that from this point to this point only it will go. If you want to board in, you board in. In between, there will not be any deviation, no other route. Okay. So then it is called as a public transport. That public transport will be exempted. But if that transportation is meant for tourism purposes, okay, or is it a transport outside India, then it will be taxable. Okay. So any kind of a water transportation is a exempted if it is public transport. If it is tourism and transportation outside India, then it will become taxable. Another water transportation mode is through inland waterways. So, what is the difference between transportation of passengers of water through vessel and through inland waterways? Vessel means the big ships which transports are which generally operates on a sea, but inland water transport means those which transfer or do the transportation of passengers which operate on a river. Okay. Now, inland waterways is exempted in all aspects. It could be for tourism or public transportation. Everything is exempted. So, inland waterways completely exempt, and transportation through vessel, if it is for public transportation, it is exempted. Everything else is taxable. So mostly it will be tourism only for water transportation. Not necessary. Like if you go to Kerala, there are some places where there are various small islands. You cannot transport through any other mode. You'll have to get shifted to a big boat itself. They call as jetty. Okay. Now, when you are using that, it will go from one place to another place, from one island to another island. And that is a public transport wherein you pay for the ticket charges and move from one place to another place. So it is a public transport, not a tourism. So apart from tourism, also there are public transport of vessels and inland waterways. Okay. So that was not completely completed on transportation by passengers. We have another aspect which is close to this, which is viability gap funding. Okay. So this Batman services, we know if you're traveling by aeroplane to these places, it is exempted. Now, another thing connected to this is the government to encourage these places gives them something called as a viability gap funding. Okay. What is viability gap funding? Saying that the government will give them funds so that they can operate for the initial years because there'll be very less number of passengers. So they may go under loss. So government will give them funding. Such viability gap funding, which is given under the scheme of RCS, which is Regional Connectivity Scheme, that viability gap funding is not taxable. That is also exempted. Okay. And for what period? It is given for a period of 3 years from commencement of operation of that airport. So whenever a new airport commences, they have to get approval from viability gap funding, which is headed by the RCS, Regional Connectivity Scheme, and then it will be exempted. So it is exempted for a period of 3 years from the commencement of the operation of that airport. If we take vessel service for tourism, India to Nicobar Island, is it exempted? No, it will be taxable. Vessel may we have said no specifically, Shruti, that if a vessel is for tourism purpose, then it will be taxable. Boat in Banaras, I'm not aware of it. Yeah, if it is inland waterways, then it will be exempted. Shruti, India to Andaman Nicobar Islands, is it exempt? Are you confirming me or are you asking me? Okay. India to Nicobar Islands, okay. Asking, okay. India to Nicobar Island, जो है, that will become a tourism purposes, right? So such tourism purposes will be taxable. It will not be exempted because that's not a public transport. Okay. So we understood transportation of passengers. Now let's move to transportation of goods. Okay. Same thing what we did for passengers will not apply here because there we know it is tourism, it is for public transport and things. So goods, it is little different.
Sir,
Yes, Hardik.
good afternoon, sir. Sir, if we travel through a ferry by
Hmm.
taking it from like in between Maharashtra and Goa, there is a ferry that goes
Hmm.
out,
Okay.
and we take our vehicle with it, with
Okay.
that ferry to that
Okay.
state. So, sir, it will be a transportation of an individual or a goods or both.
Hmm. So it will be to the extent of passenger, it will be transportation of passenger. To the extent of the vehicle, it is transportation of goods.
Both will apply.
Correct. Both will apply.
And sir, in case of sir Andaman and Nicobar Islands, sir, I am getting confused. Sir, a note is written in the module in relation to it that saying that if a private public transport which is owned by private operators,
Mhm.
for instance, of a private ferries which are used as a means of a transport, they are exempted from tax. Even if they are for touring purposes, then also it is exempt. Sir, why?
Okay. Owned by private operators. Means of transportation from one island to another island, right? Exemption would apply to tickets purchased for transportation to one, irrespective of whether the ferry is owned or operated by a private sector or a public sector undertaking. Because it is open to public. In the case of private ferries, which are used as a means of transportation, right? So that ferries, what you gave an example, it is used as a transportation of passengers,
Yes.
correct? So it becomes a public transport. So wherever it is open to public, not restricted to a group, that will be treated as public transport.
Okay, sir. Even if it is controlled by ECU or a private operator.
Yes, yes, doesn't matter because here they've not said uh, by whom. So it is applicable for e-commerce as well as for a private also, it will be exempt.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So transportation of passengers, this is complete. Now let's get into transportation of goods. Transportation of goods, it is through road. Then if it is transportation of passengers, it was different. Transportation of goods, it is different. If there is any transportation of goods, then again it could be through one of these ways: road, railway, water, or air. Now, in this, what all exemptions are there? If it is through road, it could be either through a courier, correct? You can transport goods, passengers, the parcels or posts and other things through courier. So if you are using any courier services, it is always taxable. No exemption for any kind of courier services. It could be for small distance, long distance, charges could be very less. Still, GST will be applicable on it. Okay. So if you are transporting through road by a courier service, it is taxable. Next is if you are transporting through other modes. What could be the other modes? It could be through a GTA. When it is GTA, we have read already where it could be reverse charge or forward charge. And if it is for private use, it could be exempted. Correct? Because when a GTA service provider provides some service to a person who is not registered, or if he's using for personal purposes, then it is not liable to GST. Okay. And if the GTA wants to claim the input tax credit, then he will charge under forward charge. If he's not charging, then it is from the registered person. If it is one of the seven special categories, then they will pay under reverse charge. Apart from this, they've said that there are something called as a random goods. Okay. On these R, A, and DON, these are the six category of goods. If you transport these, even for business purposes, it will be exempt. What are those? They are relief materials. So when you transport any goods, okay, to a place where there is a cyclone or there is a tsunami and you have to send relief materials, for that, GST will not apply. Okay, the transporter will take his charges, but on that GST will not be applicable. When I say GST is not applicable, it will not be applicable both under forward charge and reverse charge. So first is it should be taxable. If it is taxable, then the question comes whether it is reverse charge or forward charge. If it is not taxable, if it is exempted, then both forward charge also will be exempted and reverse charge also will be exempt. So this exemption doesn't mean that this exemption applied only on the forward charge. It also applies on the reverse charge as well. Okay. So relief materials. Second is agricultural produce. Any agriculture transportation which is done by agriculturists. Okay. From the agriculture farm to the factory. Okay. All of that transportation of agriculture produce is exempted. Then transportation of day-to-day newspapers and magazines are also exempted. Defense or military equipments, they are also exempted. Then organic manure. So when we use organic manure, on that also GST should not be used, because they need to encourage organic manure, right? That's why they have said that on organic manure, transportation of such will be exempted. Then M stands for all the general products, which is milk, salt, food grains, flour, pulses, and rice. On all of these goods, also GST is not applicable. So when we get the milk every day in the morning, the transporter which uses the milk company uses, they will not charge any GST. Okay. Similarly, food grains, salt, flour, pulses, and rice, because these are all coming from agriculture, but as a secondary market, right? From the mills, it is getting generated. That's why agriculture produce, as we understood from the exemptions of agriculture, up to the stage where it is used for primary market, that is agriculture produce. Once it goes to a factory and then some process is carried on, it is no more a agriculture produce. Correct? So pulses, rice, flour, food grains, these are all required essentials. That's why even though they are not primarily agriculture produce, but exemption is specifically given for this also. Okay, so these specified goods, GST will not apply. Random, R stands for relief materials, A for agriculture materials, N stands for newspaper and magazine, D stands for defense or military equipments, O stands for organic manure, and M stands for milk, salt, cereals, pulses, flour, rice, etc. Unregistered casual taxable person. GTA is also exempted. Yes, if he's unregistered. And if you're saying CTP, a casual taxable person will get registered, no? So a CTP is called as a CTP because he's registered. It cannot be a case of a CTP which is unregistered. Manoj, no, loose milk and packaged milk both are exempted. So this doesn't mean that now we are talking on transportation of such milk. So the transportation could be of the loose milk or packaged milk both because they've used the word milk. It means all types of milks. Even if it is packaged milk, transportation of that will be exempted. And if you see the exemption on the goods, you'll see that milk is also exempted. Ah. If I am a GTA and wants to pay in forward charge mechanism from for unregistered person, is it possible? No. If you are a GTA, if you want to pay under forward charge, then if you are supplying it to unregistered person, you will not charge because when now you are supplying it to an unregistered person, you should not charge. Okay. Then if you see, I've striked off few things wherein it was earlier exemption saying that if you are transporting to somebody and the value of the goods is, if it is for a single consignment, 750 rupees. If it is for a single carriage, then 1500. Now that exemption is gone. Okay. Which means that of any value, there will be liable to GST. Earlier, the limit of 750 and 1500 were there, where if you're doing some small transportation, don't pay GST. But now that exemption is gone. So if for any value, you will have to pay this. Okay. So that is on transportation of goods through road. Milk products are exempted or taxable. Neeru, milk products are exempted. A person who have personal vehicle in bus. Tambeshwari, I did not understand your question. Yes, tell me your question, please.
Yes, sir. I asking you that, sir, a person who has a private bus and go in a trip, it is taxable. Yes, sir.
Correct. Private bus will be taxable.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So transportation of goods through road is clear. Now transportation of goods through railways. So when you do any transportation of goods through railways, it will be taxable. Of course, the same exemption of random goods will apply. Okay, so everything you transport through rail will be taxable except those random goods and railway equipments and materials. Private is still Manvi because private bus example, if you're doing it, Tambeshwari's question was private bus which is used for a basis for a tour or a package, then it will be taxable. So if it is for a tour or package, then if it is AC or non-AC, doesn't matter, it will be taxable. Random means, Tambeshwari, random means I've given an acronym for a short form for these goods to remember. Because specified goods they've said is exempt. Now, how to remember these specified goods is this shortcut, wherein random stands for relief materials, agricultural produce, newspapers and magazines, defense or military equipments, organic manure, and milks and other products. Okay. Next is transportation of railway. Everything is taxable except random goods. Third is waterways. Waterways earlier they were all exempted. Now all of this is gone. Whatever I've striked off is to show you that earlier it was exempted. So when you get any such question, please remember that it will all be taxable. So transportation of goods through waterways and air will all be taxable. In courier service, you said taxable, but in previous session, you thought up to 10 grams. Manoj, that was on post. So there's a difference between post and courier. So if you are sending some letter through a post, then it is exempted if it is up to 10 grams. But if you transport through a courier, then that is taxable. Railway tickets, yes. Railways, all Sai Kumar is under forward charge and reverse charge is stopped. Okay. Any question on this transportation services? Because it's actually huge. We have shrinked it to a very small portion. Exporting goods does not come under this section. If you are using a air or waterways to transport of goods which you are exporting, right? It will not get exempted. It will become taxable because you are not transporting any goods which can claim exemption. So exporting of goods to one of any of these modes will be taxable itself. Random is exempted in water and airways, also for good transportation. Yes, even for goods transportation. Even for a GTA service, random goods are exempted. Air transportation, all goods are taxable. Yes, yes. In air transportation, all goods will be taxable.
Sir, in this Dwarika in Gujarat, sir, a new scheme in this as in सर गुजरात के वो द्वारिका के अंदर सबमरीन वाला स्टार्ट हुआ है जिसके अंदर समुद्र के अंदर लेके जाया जाता है तो सर वो भी वाटर के अंदर ही आता है ना तो
करेक्ट.
सर वो टैक्सेबल होगा कि एग्जेम्प्ट होगा
वो पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट नहीं है ना, वो तो कुछ दिखाने के लिए लेके जा रहे हैं ना आपको,
यस सर
अम्यूजमेंट की तरह.
यस सर
वो टैक्सेबल होगा.
मतलब सर वो तो सरकार ने स्टार्ट किया है ना मतलब कि
हाँ, सरकार ने स्टार्ट किया है तो इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि सब कुछ एग्जेम्प्टेड हो जाएगा. ठीक है, सरकार का भी जो सर्विसेज होता है वो भी टैक्सेबल हो सकता है.
ओके सर मतलब वो टैक्सेबल होगा
करेक्ट.
ओके सर
Inland waterways. Okay, but I thought it was like a amusement. We'll have to see it. Random goods is exempt in water. Random goods, sir, water is always taxable. So earlier, what exemption was there, that is all gone, right? So waterways, whatever you transport will be taxable. So it will be exempted only. Even in air, it will not be exempted. It will all be taxable. Okay. So Abhishek is saying it is used for promoting tourism in Dwarka. So that will be taxable. If you have exported goods through air and taken insurance over goods, both are taxable. Yes, both will be taxable. The export of the goods as such will be zero rated because export is zero rated, but the services are not exported, like that insurance and the transportation. That is not export, right? Because there the place of supply will be where the location of supplier and place of supply is in India. The place of supply will be in India itself, right? Unless the goods we have seen that it is being transported where the place of supply is outside India, then on that transportation of goods, you don't have to pay. But there is a distinction between export of goods and these services. So you can't mix both of them. Okay, well, let's proceed. Uh, yes, please. Next exemption is same passenger transportation service. There is a clarification that when the GST is on buses, which is used by corporates, somebody was asking that if we use buses for employees, is it exempted or no? The clarification says that the exemption would apply to passenger transportation service by non-air conditioner contract carriage, where where transportation takes place over predetermined route on a predetermined schedule. Even if it is non-AC, that doesn't mean everything will be exempted. If it is on a non-air conditioner contract carriage and where the transportation takes place over predetermined route, nothing that you are deviating it. You cannot keep changing it. If it is a predetermined route decided by the transportation company and the uh, company which is hiring it, if it is a predetermined route, every day it follows, then it will be exempted. But this exemption shall not apply where the contract carriage is hired for a period of time during which the contract carriage is at a disposal. When the contract carriage is at the disposal of the service recipient and the recipient is free to decide the manner of usage subject to conditions of the agreement entered into. That is saying, okay, I need the bus for, like generally when you see our buses will have a special board that saying that they are used for company itself, which means the company is hiring them for the morning time and evening time when the employees of the company have to go and when they have to return back. So the normal buses is being given by the bus operator, the government bus company to these private limited companies. So when they're given to them, they will use it for transportation of their employees. Now, when the route is fixed, then it will become exempted. But morning it comes, drops the employees, evening it comes, and then picks up the employees back from the factory to their home. That is exempted. But if it is AC bus, it will become taxable. Second, if this is not a scheduled departure or scheduled arrival and saying that, okay, we need the bus services for 4 hours so that it will transport multiple people, then if it is time based and it is not operating on a predetermined schedule, then it will become taxable. So that is what the clarification is saying. So this may come as a question. So you may have to pay importance to this aspect. Defense and military equipments transport by air. Yes, even if it is transport by air, it will all be taxable. Air, everything will be taxed. No exemption in case of air transportation. As soon as I say okay, there is some question which is coming in. Okay, sir, in water, random goods in your PPT is exempted. Just check because all the water transportation is removed, Hardik. I'll just check during the break and confirm to you. Okay. So this is important on transportation by a usage by a corporate to its employees. Will it be exempted or no? Decided. This is decided based on if there is a predetermined schedule. If it's a predetermined schedule, then only non-AC bus will be exempted. AC bus will be taxable. Other than pre-scheduled route, if you are using it for a specific time and multiple direction, not a determined route, it will be taxable. So transportation of goods through railways and waterways is exempt completely. Transportation of goods through railways and waterways. No, it is railways will all taxable except random goods. Okay, it will all be taxable. I never said it is exempted. And waterways also, if you transport, it is all taxable. When the um, thing is striked off, it means there was an exemption. Now that exemption is gone, so it will all be taxable. Okay. The next nature of exemption is right of various events. There is an event which is being held and you are going into that event. So there is a entry fees. Now on that entry fees, should you pay GST or no? We know the place of supply for this, right? What is the place of supply for admission to an event? Correct. The place of supply, very good. You all remember that in case of admission of event, the place of supply is the place where that event takes place. Good. Now, since we know the place of supply, now let us know the taxability or exemption for that service. It says that when you are going to any event, it could be various events. Now they have bifurcated that, saying that if it is a museum or a national park or a wildlife sanctuary, tiger reserve or a zoo, it is exempted. Okay. For any value, it is exempted. Where if you go to historical places, that is like museum, national park, wildlife sanctuary, tiger reserve, and zoo, and then any protected monuments places, that is historical places, which is ancient site and archaeological site and remains act or the state act. So it should be a protected monument which should be declared by the act. There is an act which declares that okay, these are the monuments which are protected monuments. That should be decided by the ancient sites and archaeological sites and remains act or a respective state act. So whatever, mostly these are all run by the government and it is more for a conservation basis. So any amount we pay for the admission of this is exempted. Now next kind of events what we could go is circus, dance or theatrical performance, or we can have gone to a award function or a concert or a pageant or a musical performance or any sporting events other than a RSC. RSC is recognized sporting event because recognized sporting events are specifically covered here. Then recognized sporting events, or a planetarium, all of this will be exempted if the consideration, that is the ticket price, is up to rupees 500 per person. Okay. So first kind of events exempted for any value. Second kind of event exempted if it is up to 500 rupees. So these events will be exempted for any value. And these will be exempted only if the consideration is up to rupees 500. What is a pageant? Pageant means a large scale, elaborate production or process. It could be a big show or exhibition, like Miss India pageant. Okay. Miss India, Miss Universe competition. Those places where you have to go, that are called, they are called as pageants. Planetarium. Planetarium is a place where you can see how the operation of the solar system or the operation of the universe is happening. That is called as a planetarium. Recognized sporting events, I'll give you the example. IFA ticket, yes, that is also a pageant. Zoo and other things give tickets, so why it is exempted? They give ticket, but everyone who gives ticket doesn't mean it should be taxable. They give a ticket, so ticket is taxable, correct? Because the charges you have to pay for the entry, but on that you don't have to pay GST. तो तंबेश्वरी आप जू का जब टिकट चार्ज पे करते हो तो आपको एंट्री के लिए तो पे करना ही पड़ेगा, लेकिन आपको उस चार्जेस के ऊपर जो जू वाले हैं उसके ऊपर जीएसटी चार्ज नहीं करेंगे, वो हम बोल रहे हैं. Correct. Diljit concert tickets, all taxable. Yes, all of those events are definitely taxable. Somebody was asking, what is a recognized sporting event? I think I had the definition. Let me just tell you. What is a recognized sporting event? Recognized sporting event means, very important. I'll just share the screen so that it's a big definition. That's why I did not copy it over here. Recognized sporting event means any sporting event which is organized by a recognized sports body. Now, what is recognized sports body? That has also been defined. But we'll first go to the recognized sporting event definition. Recognized sporting event means any sporting event which is organized by a recognized sports body where the participating team or individual represents any district, state, zone, or a country. Okay, they have to represent a district, state, zone, or a country, which is organized by whom? National Sports Federation, or its affiliate federations, Association of Indian Universities, Central Civil Service Cultural and Sports Board, as part of national games by the Indian Olympics Association, or under the Panchayat Yuva Krida or Khel Abhiyan PYKK schemes. Only these are the organizers who will organize. This will be organized by a sporting body where the participating team is representing the district matches, state matches, that is all exempted, or it should be recognized by these following bodies. Recognized sporting body means Indian Olympic Association, Sports Authority of India, National Sports Federation recognized by the Ministry of Sports, National Sports Promotion Organized, International Olympic Association, or a federation or a body which regulates the sport. This is very important. A federation or a body which regulates a sport. So your immediate question is whether IPL is covered or no. So it's not carried on by the who is the uh, body who is conducting the IPL. BCCI. So is BCCI the authority for cricket in India? Because it cannot fall under any of those things. It can only fall under this, a federation of body which regulates a sport at international level, and its affiliate federation are bodies regulating a sports in India. Correct. BCCI is actually a trust. It is a ICC is the federation which controls. So ICC is not organizing this. If BCCI organizes this, then it will be taxable. So that's why these IPL tickets are all taxable. They're not exempted. Garba dance ground entry ticket is 560 rupees. So it will be taxable, yes. Because वहाँ पे entry का कितना level है? 500 rupees. Correct? So any dance performance will be taxable there. Cultural events, no, sir. I will share the screen again with you. It only says that circus, dance, theatrical performance in a drama or a ballet. Okay. Only in a drama or a ballet, not anything else will be covered under the 500 rupees. So anything else other than this, there is no limit. Cultural events will not come under this. So if you are going for any cultural event, like somebody was saying the Dandiya event, wherein 560 rupees, fully taxable, sir. That limit of 500 will not apply because it should be circus, dance, including a drama or palette where somebody else is performing and you are watching. If you go and perform, that will not be covered. If we go and do a dance at the disco, then we can tell, okay, it's a dance, and that if they charge only 500 rupees, so will you get exempted? You will not get exemption because it's a performance done by somebody and there are audience watching it. So cultural events, other events will all be fully taxable. That's why fully taxable I've mentioned any water park, theme park, exhibition, any of these cultural events, film city, amusement parks, or cinema theater, there is no exemption of whatever limit. If circus charges 560 rupees, then what will be the tax? Will it be on 60 rupees or 560 rupees? We have said circus, the limit is 500 rupees. So now circus is charging, say, 560 rupees. So what will be the GST on? Correct. Everybody is given a correct answer that it will be on the full value because it doesn't say exemption up to 500 rupees. If the consideration is up to 500 rupees, it says it doesn't say exemption is up to 500 rupees. So it says that if the consideration is up to 500 rupees, then it is exempted. And if the consideration is above, then it will be fully taxable. If it is 560 rupees, on full 560, you have to pay GST. Now, linked to this, it is not entry. Now, entry is covered here, saying that, okay, if you take a entry to any of this event, right of admission to various events is done. Now, related to this, because we said performance, circus and dance. So related to this is where an artist does any performance. Now, if that artist does performance in folk or classical art form of music, dance, or theater, okay, if there is a artist, okay, who is performing kind of Kathakali. Now, that's a form of dance. It's a classical art form of dance. Then it will be exempted when if that artist is charging for the performance, okay, for one stage performance, if he or she is charging up to 1,50,000 rupees. If he or she charges more than 1,50,000 rupees, then the whole value will be taxable. Okay, it is per event, not per year or per annum. It says that exemption if the consideration is up to rupees 1.5 lakhs. Second, if you're performing in Bollywood songs, you're getting only 10,000 rupees, still fully taxable because the exemption is not just on the value. The exemption goes on the value as well as what? On what type of performance it is. It should be consideration should be 1.5 lakhs and it should be folk or classical art form of what? Only music, dance, and theater. If you operate in Bollywood songs, then it is taxable. If you operate as a brand ambassador, still it is taxable. Brand ambassador of a product, advertisement of some product, anything, still it will be taxable where there is a no value limit there. Temple, going inside a temple, okay, temple will be taxable according to this, but temple will show that as not entry fees. Generally, they don't mention as entry fees, and for temples, you don't have entry fees. You have something called as darshan coupon and things. So that is a separate thing wherein you can call it as an exemption, saying it is donation.
No, sir. I asking that, sir. I am going to Dwarika and Bet Dwarika. In this area is written as a Sone ki Dwarika, sir. Here is a give ticket. Take ticket. This. So, sir, it is a taxable. Yes, no.
What
But
is the ticket saying?
40 rupees only as a one person. So it is exempted.
What is it for?
Yes, sir.
What have they mentioned in the ticket? 40 rupees for what?
मतलब sir entry ticket था sir.
Okay. That will be taxable. If they are specifically mentioning entry ticket, then there is no exemption if you see it is not a museum, it's not a national park, it's not a
Yes, sir.
protected monument also.
Yes, sir.
Unlike you go to Taj Mahal, that's a protected monument.
Yes, sir.
So technically on the temple entry, if they have just mentioned admission fees, tax will be paid.
Okay, sir. It is taxable. Yes, sir.
Correct. Each state has some monument. Is it all exempted? Not everything, Riddhi. Those monuments which have been declared, okay, which have been declared as protected monuments. Now, most of the monuments may be there, but you cannot generalize it. Only those monuments which have been declared by the central government or the state government as protected monuments. Generally, when you go to those monuments, you'll find a board saying that this monument has been declared as a protected monument by the ancient science and archaeological sites and remote and remains act. So when they're specifically mentioning that, only then it is tax exempted, otherwise no. Yes, even UNESCO, it will be exempt because that will also have to get approved by this act itself. Brand ambassador service also taxable. Yes, once you endorse a brand, right? then the brand will pay consideration for you. So there it is fully taxable, no exemption of any value. Okay. So this is on the entry and the artist performance. Next is very important is on the Residential Welfare Association. Now, what happens in a residential welfare association is there is a association which is doing welfare for its members. Now, from the members' welfare, for the welfare of the members, it's collecting a monthly charges. Now, when they collect this charges from the members, will it be exempted or no? It will be exempted if the limit is 7,500 rupees. जैसे एक apartment है, there are 20 flats. From each of these flats, there is some maintenance charges. Now, this maintenance charges is collected at 9,000 rupees from per member. So it will be taxable, correct? But if the charges is 5,000 rupees, then it is not taxable. That is clear. But to decide whether it is taxable or no, we know that there is a registration threshold limit. Now, what is the threshold limit for services? For services, it is 20 lakhs, and for goods, it is 40 lakhs. So, when the limit is 20 lakhs for services, it is possible that it's a small association. It is collecting more than 7,500. But since the number of members is less, the annual collection is not crossing 20 lakhs. Then it will not be taxable. So, to decide whether there is a tax payable or no by a welfare association, which is called as Residential Welfare Association, look at the Residential Welfare Association annual turnover. First, check the annual turnover. If the annual turnover is more than 20 lakhs, okay. If the annual turnover of that Residential Welfare Association is more than 20 lakhs, then you have to go to the second limit that yes, if the value is more than 7,500, exemption is not available, which means it is taxable. And if the value is less than 7,500, then exemption will apply. Now, come to a situation where the turnover of the welfare association itself is below 20 lakhs. Then whether you collect more than 7,500 or less than 7,500 doesn't matter. Both will be exempted itself. Correct? So if the annual turnover of the welfare association is up to 20 lakhs, then you collect any amount, it will be exempted because your annual registration limit itself, you're not touching. So if you touch your registration limit, then you have to see the monthly collection charges. But they are charging per square feet. Correct. They are charging per square feet basis, most of them. And some flats are greater than 7,500, some are less. So from whomever they are collecting more than 7,500, from them, they will collect the GST. And from those members from whom they are collecting less than 7,500, from them, they will not collect the GST. What is Residential Welfare Association? What is RWA? RWA कसक stands for Residential Welfare Association. मतलब एक apartment है. You are staying in a apartment and उस apartment में क्या हो रहा है? There are members. Now, if it is an apartment, some welfare has to happen, some common amenities, securities commonly रखना पड़ता है. Correct? So you form all the flat owners मिलके you form a residential welfare association. When you form this residential welfare association, it provides services to its members itself, correct? But since it is collecting from its members, this exemption says that, okay, that amount what you're collecting, if you're collecting more than 7,500 rupees, you have to pay GST on it. Now, that limit of 7,500 rupees is to be checked per flat per month and not per member, which means what? Means simply this. I'll give you an example. there is a flat owner, flat number 1. Okay. Owner name is Akash. He has 2 flats. Flat number 1 is paying 5,000 rupees. Flat number 2 is paying 6,000 rupees. So total it is 11,000 rupees. Now for this, should he pay the GST or no? Pallavi is saying exempted, but everybody are against it and saying that no, it is not exempted. Hardik Marwa is saying no GST will be levied. Yes, GST pay on total, not on individual, exempt, exempt, exempt. Okay, so very, very confusing answers here. Now, when you say that monthly maintenance charges of more than 7,500, there is a clarification which clarifies that this 7,500 is to be checked per flat per month and not per member. Okay. So if you see here, this one is flat number 1 less than 7,500, flat number 2 less than 7,500. So if it is per flat, which is less than 7,500, then no GST. So you will not check on the total amount. The total amount is okay, more than 7,500, but the limit given here is per flat per member. So each flat check, it could be a common person who is having 2 flats, but that doesn't mean that he will not get the benefit. He will get the benefit and GST will not be applicable on this because the value is less than 7,500 per flat. Okay. Then we'll go to legal services, understand what is the legal services. Then we'll go to all other exemptions. So we'll take a break here for 10 minutes and we'll come back and continue this legal services.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, like RWAs, there are many RWAs which have a huge amount of turnover. Sir, can they take ITC as well after like receiving GST on the
Yeah.
service?
So if they are collecting GST on their services, they can take the ITC.
ITC like on sir, like the resources which they are providing in the societies for that areas they will take ITC.
Correct. Because the Residential Welfare Association will do work for the association. So whatever equipments they are purchasing, any services they are recruiting, security services, all of that, they can claim the credit.
And sir, in case if the like receipt amount which I am paying every month to the RWA, it includes my like bills as well. So sir, it will be excluded from it, no?
No, no. Consideration will include everything.
But
So
sir, for GST, bills like
yes,
electricity bills, water bills,
correct. So it will be treated as a composite supply. The amount what you are paying to the association will be a total value. So you will not exclude anything. You will pay everything. Now,
but
what bills are you saying? Is it your individual bill?
individual bill, like my
Individual
electricity bill.
bills, generally, you RWA will not take it. You will have to pay it directly.
No, sir, there are sometimes in housing societies there are provision that the bill, water bills, electricity bill, gas bills, which every month comes in a certain flats. The
Okay.
amount which they have to pay, it is a composite of that bills which the flat has. Like in the cooperative societies, usually the flats are not in the name of the members; they are in the name of the cooperative society. They have the right to stay in it. So, sir, the bills that will be coming for the cooperative societies will be in the name of the cooperative societies only. So, sir, in that area, I'm asking.
Okay. So there is a concept called as pure agent in GST, wherein if your amount bill is in your name but paid by somebody else, then that will be out of the levy of GST.
Then it will be out of. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
And also on the question of random goods, it is exempted for all GTA, railway, and vessel, all the three. Water is included, yes. Manoj's question is first we have to check threshold, then we have to check the RWA per month or per flat. Correct. We have to check the threshold, then we have to check the RWA per month. Rajasthan Parivahan Nigam scheme. What is the scheme, Tambeshwari? Okay. Now we'll get into the legal services, which is exempted. Yeah, I'll take up other questions later on after we finish this now. Now, legal services, when a advocate provides services to a individual advocate, it is exempted. Okay. From one advocate to another advocate, from one advocate to another senior advocate, it is all exempted. But from a individual to a business entity whose receipts are within the specified limit, that is also exempted. To any business entity whose gross receipts crossing the specified limit, that specified limit means the threshold limit for that state, then it will be under RCM. So one thing you should note is that from a individual advocate or a senior advocate or arbitral tribunal providing to a business entity whose gross receipts are exceeding the limits, there only it is under RCM at 18%. To everybody else, it is exempted. But important thing is something will get taxable. What is that? That is this when a senior advocate provides services to an individual advocate or to another senior advocate, or a arbitral tribunal providing services to another individual advocate or senior advocate, this will be taxable. So only this scenario, it will be taxable. In all other scenarios, it is exempted, and when it's provided to a business entity under reverse charge. Okay, so only this scenario, you will not find it clearly in your books because they've said only exemption and reverse charge. This aspect they have not said, so this will be a crucial point for you. So generally, when a lawyer provides services to businesses who's crossing the limit, they only have to pay the reverse charge. Banking services, earlier services provided by the RBI was exempted. Now that is omitted. So any services provided by the RBI to public or to banks will all be taxable. Then under banking, what else is exempted? Services of extending deposits, loans, or advances in so far as the consideration is represented by way of interest or discount. So any interest or discount, what the bank charges or what the bank collects, it will be exempted. So when any deposit is there, you give a fixed deposit for which interest is paid. Correct? On that, GST is not applicable. Then any purchase of foreign currency, very important, any interstate purchase or sale of foreign currency amongst banks or authorized dealers of foreign exchange or amongst banks and such dealers. So any transaction, when you go take a foreign exchange, banker will charge some charges to you. That is taxable. Now for that foreign exchange, the banker does not have sufficient currency. He goes to another banker and does any foreign exchange transaction. That will be exempted. Then the banker may also go to a authorized representative or an authorized dealer of foreign exchange, because foreign exchange can be dealt by the bankers or authorized dealers who is appointed by the RBI or it is authorized by the RBI. Any transaction between them is exempted. Then services provided by the banking company to basic savings bank deposit accounts under the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. Under that, if any charges which the banker levies on that, GST is exempt. Like in your bank account, if you see if there's any SMS charges, quarterly maintenance charges, on that GST will be applicable. But if it is this Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, any charges levied by the bank, they will levy the charges, but they will not levy GST on that. Then service of acquiring bank in relation to settlement of an amount of up to rupees 1,000 rupees. So up to 2,000 rupees. So when you give a check from one bank to another bank, then that banker will go to that other bank and get the funds. So that is called as settlement of funds. So for this settlement up to 2,000 rupees, there is no charges. Above 2,000 rupees, if there's check value, they collect some charges. That will be taxable. But if there is settlement up to 2,000 rupees, it is exempted. Then banking services, what is taxable and exempted? Service fees, documentation fees, brokerage charges, interest we said is exempted, but other charges collected above interest, saying that you have paid late, so they'll levy a late fees. That is taxable. Documentation fees, whatever names they call, other than interest, whatever banker is collecting, it is all taxable. Then check discounting. To the extent of discount is exempted, because we said interest and discount is exempted. So check discounting, the discount charges will be exempted. Then late payment for payment of credit card bills, that will be taxable, because the basic savings account interest and discount is exempted. Apart from that, for your credit interest, on that GST will be payable. Late payment will be payable. Penal interest charged, there circular 102 says that will also taxable. Then services for foreign exchange, like I said, any foreign exchange within the bank and the authorized dealer is exempted. Bank to general public, bank to a corporate is all taxable. So what is the exemption? Exemption is only amongst banks or amongst authorized dealers, and between banks and dealers, dealers to banks. This is an example to understand this, that X sells a mobile phone to Y. The cost of mobile phone is 40,000 rupees. Now, however, X gives Y an option to either pay in installments of 11,000 rupees per month over the next 4 months. As per the contract, if there is any delay in payment by Y beyond the scheduled date, Y will be liable for additional penalty of rupees 500. In some instances, X is charging Y 40,000 rupees for the mobile. Now, if you take it on installment, it is 11,000 rupees per month. If you take it without any installments, it's only 40,000 rupees. The consideration for which is the interest of 2.5% per month and additional penal charges, what happens to this? The answer says that as per the rules, when we go to value of supply, we'll understand this better. The amount of penal interest is to be included in the value of supply because it is treated like a composite supply and any penal interest will be included in the value. The transaction between X and Y is for supply of taxable goods, that is for mobile phone, and also the penal interest, what is being charged, it would be included in the value of mobile. So how do you decide what is to be included is at your transaction level, whether you are saying that this is part of the same transaction, then you will include in your value. Okay. Now, please. Yes, on 500, tax will be levied. Correct. Service of life insurance business, which is provided by way of annuity under the National Pension Scheme. Under the National Pension Scheme, the insurance business provided by way of annuity will be exempted. Then service of life insurance business provided or agreed to be provided by the army. So most of the government schemes of this insurance, National Pension Scheme, Army, Naval and Air Force scheme, they are all exempted. Services of life insurance provided by the Naval Group Insurance Fund. Again, Naval Group Fund, Naval and Air Force Group Fund, life insurance provided by the Central Armed Police Forces. So when we pay a LIC premium, we pay Mediclaim, that is all taxable because that is all private insurance. Even LIC, we generally thought it's a government company, but LIC is not a government company. It's like a normal insurance company itself. So any premium you pay will all be taxable, but these specified schemes will be exempted. Then service of life insurance provided under the following specific schemes. Again, government schemes. जन श्री बीमा योजना, आम आदमी बीमा योजना, लाइफ माइक्रो इंश्योरेंस प्रोडक्ट, वरिष्ठ पेंशन बीमा योजना, प्रधानमंत्री जीवन ज्योति बीमा योजना, प्रधानमंत्री जन धन योजना, प्रधानमंत्री वाया वंदन योजना. All of this schemes, generally to understand this, you will have to think that yes, is it a government scheme? Yes, then it will be exempted. Again, general insurance. Here we saw life insurance. Now here we'll see general insurance, hut insurance, cattle insurance, Janta personal accident policy, group personal accident policy, agricultural pump set and failed well insurance, premia collected on export credit insurance. All of this are exempted. Other general insurance, these are related to general non-life, and this is related to life insurances. Apart from that, any services provided by specified bodies. Now, what are these specified bodies? I've striked off you to take your attention saying that not all the government bodies are exempted. SEBI providing services will be taxable. IRDAI, Insurance Regulatory Development Authority of India, that is all taxable. Very important. SEBI and IRDAI is taxable. Coal mines, PFO, like how we have Provident Fund, like that for coal mines also special PFO authorities there. So coal mines PFO, EPFO, ESI and National Pension Scheme, these are all exempted. But SEBI and IRDAI is taxable. I will share the screen slides with you. Keep a note that SEBI and IRDAI is taxable. Other exempt services is services by following persons: business facilitator or a business correspondent, then intermediary of a bank, okay, is all exempted. Of a banking company, Now, facilitator or a business correspondent is one who gets business to the bank. Now, with respect to which bank he will be exempted, only if he is providing services with respect to rural branch. If it is providing to a urban branch, it will be taxable. But if he is providing services in respect to a rural branch, it will be exempted. Then any person or an intermediary to a business correspondent with respect to services mentioned above. That is, it could be a business facilitator or a business correspondent, or it could be an intermediary. Then services provided by the central government, state government, union territory for any training program for which 75% or more of the expenditure is borne by the central government, then it is exempted. Then service of granting national permit, transportation of goods we do, right? The goods transport agency should have a yellow board. The lorries and trucks should have a yellow board, which is called as national permit. For this national permit, what charges is collected by the regional transport officer, that is also exempted. Service by way of transfer of a going concern, very important. You're selling your business completely, okay, along with your assets, liabilities completely. You're saying that is called as a going concern, wherein the business will be continuing as a going concern if you're selling as a whole or an independent part thereof, which means you are demerging only part of your business or you're selling whole of the business. Both of them will be exempted. So when you sell your business, if you sell those assets and stock individually, that will be taxable. But if you sell your business as a whole, service by way of transfer of a going concern will be exempted. Then supply of services associated with transit cargo to Nepal and Bhutan exempted. Services by way of renting of residential dwelling. So for your exam, it is still renting of a residence, except when the residential dwelling is rented to a registered person, it will be exempted, which means you have a house, residential house, you're giving it to a person for staying, exempted. Now, that same house, if you're giving to a person who is registered and using it, okay, a registered person using it for his same residence use of his employees, he's using that as a guest house for his staff, guest house for his guests who are coming in, that will all be taxable under reverse charge. Okay, this is a very important amendment. Again, will be a change, but for your exam, this will be relevant that when you're giving out a residential dwelling, a house to a registered person, then it is taxable. If you're giving a house to an unregistered person, that will be exempted. Now, if you're giving to a registered person, but he's using for his personal use, then also it's exempted, which means he has to use it for his business, only then reverse charge will come. If he's using for his personal purpose, reverse charge will not. Service by way of preconditioning, pre-cooling, ripening, vaccinating, retail packaging, labeling of fruits and vegetables. So any fruits and vegetables, we know it is secondary product because when they pluck it, it is primary product. Then they do packaging and things like that. Okay. But those things which do not alter the essential characteristics, right? To preserve these fruits, you are doing these activities. Like apple, when it comes from Shimla, it can't come in that way. It has to get waxed. So when they're doing that wax packaging so that it can get delivered here, so that what is the fruit there remains as a fruit here, then that activity is exempted. That's why when the fruits what we buy, all of that will be exempted. Then satellite launch service supplied by Indian Space Research Organization, Antrix or a New Space India. Here there is amendment. We'll come to the amendment later. Service by way of access of road or bridge on payment of toll charges. So whatever toll charges we pay, on that there is no GST. Oh, these are the exemptions. Now we'll go to the questions. Okay, on the when we deal with these questions, you will also learn because we have not taught this, but you will get to know about this. Now on the question number 2, amount charged for service provided by selectors, is it taxable or no? No, 500 rupees will not apply here, Shruti Kumari. We are on question number 2. Okay. If you are saying taxable, if you are saying it is not taxable. I'll tell you the correct answer, and also we'll go through that exemption to understand what is the actual reason why it is taxable or exempted. So service provided to a recognized sporting body only by an individual as a player, referee, umpire, coach, or team manager. Okay, just these 5 things: player, referee, umpire, coach, or team manager is exempted. But selector is not under this category. So selector's services will be taxable. Exemption entry number 68, it says individual as a player, referee, umpire, coach, or team manager for participation in a sporting event organized by a recognized sports body. Okay, service provided by a recognized sport body to a sports body by this or another recognized sport body. From one recognized sport body to another will be exempted. However, it should be when they are acting as a player, that event should be organized by a recognized sporting body. However, services by individuals such as selector, commentators, technical experts are all taxable. And the service of a player to a franchisee, now IPL, it is to a franchisee which is not a recognized sports body, is also taxable. Okay, so it is clear that when the IPL players, they are serving as to a franchisee, right? So that's why it becomes taxable. Curators are one who create the things. They are called as curators. Yes, Kasak, you have to learn all the exemptions. There is no exemption to your exemption. There's no exception in the exemption chapters. So all of this you will have to learn. Okay. Question number 5. Will this be taxable or exempted? Not able to see the question. Are you able to see now? Question number 5. Few are saying taxable, few are saying exempted. Seems to be confusion here again. Read the question completely so that you will get the answer. The services are provided by a team manager. Team management is exempted. To a recognized sports body also is fine. But the event should be organized by the recognized sporting body. The event is not organized by a recognized sporting body. The event is organized by a multinational company. Okay, that's why it is taxable. Question number 6. Okay, again, mixed reaction for this. Services provided by an organizer to any person in respect of a business exemption are exempted from GST only when such business exhibition is held outside India. However, since in the given case the exhibition is being organized in India, the service of organization of event by the Keenan Enterprises will not be exempted. The event should be held outside India. Now, in this case, the event is business exhibition is in New Delhi, so it will be taxable. Okay, people are saying exempted. Please be careful that since it is under exemption chapter, doesn't mean all the questions will be exempted. The answers for all the questions will be exempted. Okay. Question number 7. Okay. In case of this question number 7, GST is not payable in case of hiring of trucks because services by way of giving on hire, okay, of giving on hire any means of transport to a goods transport agency is exempted. So if a goods transport agency needs some trucks on hire, if they take that trucks on hire, it will be exempted. It will not be taxable. You didn't understand the 7th question. Sir, 7th question is saying that ST Limited, it's a private limited company, has given on hire 5 trucks to T2 transporters. Now, who's T2 transporters? Is a goods transport agency for transporting goods. The hiring charges for the trucks are 7,500 per truck. So he's charging, saying that each truck, how many hour days you use, you have to pay me 7,500 rupees. Now, whether GST is payable on this hiring charges is the question. On goods transport agency, there is a exemption. I will show you that. Then you will understand this clearly. So entry number 22. Entry number 22 says that any services by way of giving to a goods transport agency. Okay, so any services given to a goods transport agency, which will be what? Services of a hiring. So any hiring, you have a vehicle, you're giving on hire to a GTA, it will be exempted. Yeah, the limit doesn't matter. It's only to confuse you. It just doesn't give you any limit. It says that any value. So any value of, see, I'll share that now. So any service, the entry starts over here. It says that service by way of giving on hire. Hire of what? Come here. Hiring to a goods transport agency, a means of transportation of goods. Means of transportation of goods means any vehicle. Any vehicle, when you're giving to a goods transport agency, then that is exempted. The example given here is Nishant owns a truck which he has rent to Sindhu and Bansal Transport Agency. Then the service by way of giving on hire a means of transportation. What have they given means of transportation? They have given a truck. So the truck which is given to a goods transport agency is exempt from tax. However, if Nishant had rented a vehicle designed to carry passengers, then it will not be exempted. Okay. If he rents a vehicle, one is hiring, one is renting. If he is giving it on hire, then it will be exempted. If he gives on rent, which is to designed to carry passengers. Okay. Now, goods transport agency will take everything on hire only. So they will transport goods. But if the vehicle is given on rent to carry passengers, they give a car, then it will be taxable. So limit is only to confuse you. The limit is not relevant. Rent and hire is you are giving it on rent for specified period. Hire is you're giving him so that he can use it for whatever purpose. That is called as hiring. Okay, now we'll take some MCQs. This MCQ, this was covered. Second MCQ. Answer is B. Okay, let us see what is the correct answer. The question says providing advancement of skill development to various companies. X Limited is not paying GST by the notion services related to advancement of skill development are exempted. Is it correct? No. Answer is correct. It is B because service related to advancement of skill development provided by charitable trust only is exempted. By a company, it is taxable. Correct. Third question. Again, answer is B. Same question, but little facts are changing, right? It's not necessary that answer is again B. It is liable to GST because services provided by charitable trust to specified persons only is exempted. Fourth one. Answer is C. Yes, service in respect of Kailash Mansarovar Yatra is chargeable since the exemption is available to specified organizations only. Here it is with respect to services provided by Yatra Tours, but service should be provided by Kumau Mandal Vikas Nigam Limited directly. So answer is C. Fifth question. Correct. Most of you have given correct answer. Answer is B, which is warehousing of rice and forest produce. Come on, this is a detailed question. Read the question and then answer this. So if you haven't attended the healthcare services, because there we have clearly specified saying that whether it's a composite supply or a mixed supply or is it's a separate supply. So the correct answer is B. Food facility provided to Mr. A is part of a composite supply and not separately taxable, but food provided to Mrs. A is liable to GST because Mrs. A is not the patient. Mr. A is the patient. The answer is B. Question number 7. Correct. So these MCQs are designed in such a way that you can understand the concept also. You will not get such simple MCQs in your questions because they will try to analyze your remembrance and your relevance of how do you connect the question. Okay. Yes, answer is C. Services are exempted which are related to rural branch, services related to urban branch are taxable. Somebody said D, don't get confused. Same aspects, but here rural are told as taxable and urban is exempted. But that's not the case. Exempted is rural, urban is taxable. Performance of a dance is exempted, right? Okay, most of them are saying C. See, C and D, the answer is yes, but the reasoning is very important. Providing services as a brand ambassador is taxable under GST if consideration exceeds 1,50,000 rupees. No. For brand ambassador, there is no limit. The correct answer is D because if you're a brand ambassador, there is no limit which is applicable. The limit is applicable when you perform in a specific art and thing. There is a limit of 1,50,000. But if you are a brand ambassador or you're in Bollywood, then there's no limit which is applicable. The answer is D. Correct. This everybody is given the correct answer. Answer is B. It's a simple question, simple answer. Last question. Correct. Everybody is given a correct answer for this. Answer is B, because for a circus, the limit is 500 rupees. Here, the consideration is more than 500 rupees. So that full 550 rupees will be taxable. Okay. So with that, exemption chapters is covered, but there are a lot of other exemptions which is there in your notes. So I would encourage you to read them. And if there is any questions, all the points that have cut mark are taxable from this year. Correct. Which I have cut, they are all taxable. Right. Any specific exemptions which you didn't understand, we have some time, we can discuss them.
Sir, like in supply chapter, we have studied about the refrain, liquidation, the act which we refrain to, or because refrain from, and to, these three words which we have studied, because these were taxable only if we have an explicit contract.
Correct.
Sir, but sir, in case of banking services, the interest which we are saying that it is now a composite supply.
Hmm.
So, sir, it is also taxable.
Like what service of a banking?
Sir, like we have discussed about the EMI one,
Right.
and sir, the interest which he has charged because of the late payment of the EMI.
Right.
So, sir, it is also taxable.
Correct. Those are all taxable.
Sir, but if he has faced any kind of in case of hotel industries, we have seen that if anyone faces a damages because of that late payment, like in banking area also there could be any damage because of late payment, like they were not able to repay the depositor. So, sir, then it will be exempted.
No, it will be taxable itself. For reasoning, we don't have to make it exempt. Only interest and discount from a banking perspective are exempted. All other charges are taxable.
Sir,
Late
interest.
payment charge.
Sir, any example of interest? Like discount, I understand interest. Like
Like when you deposit your money into the savings bank account, the bank gives you interest on that, right? Quarterly interest you get.
yes, sir.
That is a return for your deposit, what you have.
Yes, sir.
On that interest, there is no GST.
Okay, sir. And sir, the otherwise that I am paying an interest to the bank for a loan
That
which
is
I am.
also exempted. That is also
Sir,
exempted.
so sir, EMI is also the same thing, na sir? That's
Correct. EMI is exempted, but late payment for this EMI, late payment charges, penalties, that is all taxable.
no, sir. But the amount of 4,000 also be included in it, na? In that example, like the mobile phone was of 40,000 rupees,
Hmm.
and the installments which we charged were 44,000 rupees total in total.
Correct. Correct.
So 4,000 extra plus 500, you said 4,500 is a composite supply, so that is why all will be taxable. So,
Right.
but sir, 4,000 is in the way of interest which we are giving to him for the loan which he is providing to us. So, sir, 4,000 should be exempt and 500 should be taxable according to me.
See, I'll tell you, there are two things. First one you understood. Now there is case two. Now see this, then you'll understand the differentiation. Oh, 1 minute. Yeah, is the screen visible now?
Yes, sir.
X sells a mobile phone to Y. The cost of the mobile phone is 40,000. Y has an option to avail a loan at an interest of 2.5% per month for purchasing the mobile from ABC Limited. The terms of the loan allows Y a period of 4 months to repay the loan and an additional penal interest of 1.52% for any delay. In this case, the additional penal interest is charged for a transaction between Y and Mrs. ABC Limited, and the same is getting covered under serial number 27 of notification 12, which means that in case of penal interest charge thereon would not be subject to GST, as the same would not be covered under the notification number 12. The value of supply of mobile would be 40,000. Now, if you are selling and there is no third party who is giving this loan, then the value of this mobile itself is 44,000, like we have seen in case 1. But in case 2, the loan is given by a third party. So your transaction is that you will get money as a seller from the loan company today itself. And there is a separate transaction of giving that loan by the loan company to the buyer.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so there is two different things.
Sir, so in second case, sir, any other simple example, sir? Not getting it.
See, if you study this in the chapter of supply also, or when we discuss valuation of supply, you will get to know value of supply, time and value of supply, you will get to know that the value, whatever you are charging,
Yes.
interest is also to be included in the value of supply,
Yes, sir.
which is directly related to your supply. It could be that you are selling a product today, but you are telling that person that, okay, you can pay me in 3, 4 installments.
Yes, sir.
So it will not be treated that you are giving a loan or something like that. It will be that your business itself is such that you are increasing the value and collecting from the customer in installments.
Yes, sir.
So then the value will be 44,000 and not 4,000 and not 40,000. It will be 44,000.
Okay, sir. Then it will be fully taxable, 44,000.
Correct. Correct.
And sir, if it is in the form of loan which is provided by a bank, not a third
Correct.
party, then
Hmm.
4,000 will be exempted and 500 will be taxable.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, sir. Now got it, sir. Thank you, sir.
Can you explain example number 45? Example number 45. Yeah, I will share the screen. Forty-five example says Residential Welfare Association of Tintin Housing Society, which is registered under GST, has collected maintenance charges of rupees for 9,000 per month per member from 1,000 members of the society in the month of May. Okay, it is already registered and the amount is crossing 7,500. By paying the GST of 16 lakh 20,000, which is 9,000 into 1,000 makes it 90 lakhs on that 18%, which is 16 lakh 20,000. Residential Welfare Association can utilize the ITC of GST of 1 lakh paid by its purchase of swings, ITC of 20,000 on electric cables, ITC of 15,000 on public services, which were availed during the month of May. So what it's saying is same like how one of the participants had asked that if you are paying GST on the supply, on the collection, what you are making from the members, okay, then you are not availing any exemption. Then what benefit you get is you collect the GST and you can claim the input tax credit on whatever purchases you're making. You had purchased swings, you had purchased electric cables, you had done plumbing services. All of this credit will become available to you. If you don't collect GST, then all this ITC you cannot claim. Okay. Clear, Manvi? Yeah, pure service, Hardik, we will come under valuation. That time we will discuss on pure service. Pure agent. Ha, Tambeshwari, what is your question?
Yes, sir. Sir, in this cultural dance is sir exempted and taxable in performance. Sir, can you explain, sir?
No, no. In performance of dance, cultural events will all be taxable because it only says performance of dance and those things. Cultural events will be taxable. It will not be exempted.
Sir, in this given the example for your side, in this case it is embezzle. It is taxable.
Which one, ma?
Example 8.
Huh?
Question number 8.
My question number 8.
Yes, sir. Your question.
Yeah, she is doing my example. Question number 8 was on Bharatnatyam.
Yes, sir.
Bharatnatyam is one of the dance which is folk forms of dance. So that is exempted, no?
Yes, sir. It's confusion, sir. It is a performing dance. It is a taxable, but sir, it is a ambassador to dancing.
What?
Ambassador dancing, sir.
Investor,
No, no,
brand
sir.
ambassador,
Branch.
institute.
Yes, sir. Institute.
She is acting as a brand ambassador. So when we discuss this thing, no, I'll show you that slide. If you are as a brand ambassador, then it is taxable. So
Okay,
she
sir.
is acting as a brand ambassador for anybody. They've just said brand ambassador. So if you're a brand ambassador for anybody, it will be taxable.
Okay, sir. Yeah, sir. One doubt in this house security in this ITC. I think in this chapter.
What is your question?
Sir, in this chapter, as a house securities in ITC as an topic.
नो 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 टॉपिक हियर हिंदी में बताइए समझ में नहीं आया
सर हाउस प्रॉपर्टी के मतलब कि इनकम टैक्स क्रेडिट वाला एक टॉपिक था ना सर जो हार्दिक भाई ने पूछा था
ओके आपका डाउट क्या है
सर वो समझ में नहीं आया सर
मुझे आपका क्वेश्चन समझ में नहीं आ रहा है आप एक बार बुक को रेफर कीजिए ताकि फिर आप क्या पूछ रहे हो क्लियरली हो जाएगा फिर
सर बुक्स तो पीडीएफ भी नहीं है सर पीडीएफ से निकालना पड़ेगा सर
हाँ हाँ
नेक्स्ट क्लास में बता दूंगी सर
ठीक है
ओके
ओके थैंक यू very tough this chapter because there are so many exemptions Hardik and yes everybody had this thing that so many exemptions should be read yes you have to read it the best way is to see it practically because most of these exemptions you will see that they are practically if you understand the examples right then you'll be able to collect it otherwise yeah it is really voluminous Pallavi can you explain short exemption related to Pandit services. So Pandit providing any religious services is all exempted. So a priest, Pandit, they've said, but it includes a person who's providing religious ceremony for any religion. It could be a father in a church, it could be a Pandit, it could be anybody who's providing any religious services is exempted. Okay, thank you very much for your patient listening. We have completed the exemption chapter. It was very, very intense. Hope you have understood this more clearly and would be happy if you could go through these exemptions and put up your questions in our next chapter, in our next discussion, so that I can clarify your doubts, so that you will remember for a longer duration till your exams.